what's going on, everybody? I hope you're doing well. I'm not. I'm not going to apologize about the facial hair. I'm not going to apologize about the bed head. I'm not going to apologize about making a video in my pajamas because I am get out of bed pissed. And I'm pissed because of the narrative that's been going on for the last half hour, for the last week over the elections. As America has bought into some of those amazing bullshit that I've ever run into. And one of the nice things about my Bruce the Monk channel is I don't take donations, so I don't owe it to the government to stay out of politics. And this bullshit has got to stop. But I've had this endless harangue everywhere I go. Oh my God, Trump, oh my God, Trump, oh my God, Trump. All right, now anybody who has followed me for any amount of time knows I'm not a fan of the Orange God King. I didn't vote for him in the primary. I didn't vote for him in the general election. My standards are my standards, and I put, unlike Democrats, my beliefs actually carry through. It isn't, I will sacrifice my beliefs so that my party can win. If my party isn't advocating my beliefs, they're not my party, and they don't get my vote, right? So there's where I'm coming from, and that needs to be said. You can go to my Twitter feed, at Bart of Legrandil. You will see 6 months of Trump stomping all over my Twitter feed, right? That's where I'm coming from, and it doesn't matter because the bullshit that I've been going through for the last week has been so much that you're actually making me get on YouTube instead of getting an extra hour of sleep before work to defend him against this pathetic garbage. It's unbelievable. Let's get started, right? So today, somebody I love dearly was on Twitter, and he's like, yet another voice. We must brace ourselves because Trump is going to be Hitler. Really? Well, let's get started, right? Oh my God, Trump is Hitler. Bullshit. Okay, there are some similarities here. The similarities are both demagogues, meaning they play to mobs instead of playing to. They play to mob anger and mob emotion, and mostly mobs run on anger, rather than anything resembling intellectual consistency. I can't criticize any of his policies because he's contradicted himself 15 times in the last year. So I have to wait till what he does, because it's like rolling a D12 in a role-playing game. I rolled an 11. Today, Trump is for a full immigration ban. We rolled an 8. Today, Trump is for limited immunity. It's just, we never know, and until he actually acts, we don't know. But let's start. This hyperbolic bullshit that's getting thrown all over the internet from people on both sides is not helping anybody. It isn't representing the anti-Trump cause. If anybody has legitimate concerns, they're getting drowned out by demonstrably false, easily proven hoax stuff. Like the Southern Poverty Law Center's flagship 3 or 4 completely fabricated assaults by Trump voters that, as soon as they got it investigated, were proven to be completely made up, which the left doesn't really care about, right? I mean, we've known this for the last 6 years of false rape accusations. That it's the size of the story, and we don't have to fact check, and if somebody's declared innocent, we don't have to apologize for how we've declared that. This is how the left works. It's the attack that matters and not the facts, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not a leftist, is because they told me to. I grew up raised by leftists, right? They told me to believe in truth. I believe in truth. Then I found out they don't believe in truth. They told me not to judge. I grew up listening to and believing Martin Luther King Jr.'s statements that we shouldn't judge people by their race, and all they judge is people by their race. If you doubt me, go for. You can go to. You voted. You're a traitor to your race if you vote this way. This. If you're Latino, you must believe this. If you are, or anybody who's black must vote this way, or believe this way, or think this way. The whole political party is based on racism. Well, and then we can get into sexism, but that's another rant. Let's stick to, oh my God, Trump is Hitler. One, Hitler had a defined, clear message. Trump does not. All right. You can go to sound bites. What he says varies so badly. Take your pick. Now, one point I will give you, and this deserves to be said up front because I'm going to spend the rest of the time yelling at you. So here's the big point. Trump has cozied up to this toxic, hate-mongering, bigoted, racist group called the alt-right. And the alt-right are not conservatives. They're not American conservatives. They're European-style right-wingers, right? They believe that culture and race have to be not a nation's identity, not a nation's beliefs, but a nation's racial and ethnic makeup have to be, have to be preserved. And these are the people that, send evil, terrible, racist tweets. And Steve Bannon, Trump is justifiably getting a lot of shit because Steve Bannon, who runs Breitbart News, bragged that he had made his newspaper the voice of the alt-right, and this is one of the two most powerful positions that Trump has put in the cabinet. That's a fair justification. But having a racist work for you doesn't make you Hitler. If that did, then say the Democrat Party that repeatedly re-elected Democrat Senator Larry Bird, a KKK recruiter and high-ranking officer. He was a Glenn Kliegold in the fucking KKK. So if you really cared about racism, it's amazing, and welcome that that shows up. You've got black people, talking about killing white people. You've got feminists talking about exterminating white males. So there's a gender and a skin color that deserves to die. But now you care about racism because it's the other side. You complete waste hypocrites. Okay, so Trump is Hitler. No, Trump doesn't have enough spine to be Hitler. Trump isn't, and let's, before we can say whether or not Trump is X, you have to find out what X is. So let's look at Hitler's platform, right? Hitler was the head of the, and I'll translate it for you in English, National Socialist Workers' Party. What did he believe in? He believed in gun registration, and then he believed in using that gun registration to ban guns from anybody who wasn't in his party. And this is why the Jews weren't able to defend themselves when he came to exterminate them. But hey, let's be honest. He killed 6 million Jews. He killed 11 million people total. It was not just about anti-Semitism. But hey, you want to pretend that you care about anti-Semitism? We can go through the Democrat and Obama's policies about Israel. Like giving the people sworn to wipe out the biggest collection of Jews on the face of the planet nukes in 10 years and calling that a great arms deal. You really weren't bothered about that. So, you can shut your pie hole about anti-Semitism or racism because you really care. I didn't hear your cries about protests about racism when somebody was criticizing Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz. I didn't hear the big cries about racism, about Judge Clarence Thomas or about Herman Cain or, the race only matters when it's on your side. Shut up, you hypocrites. Okay, now, I literally have a liberal friend in the Twin Cities who didn't sleep for 2 days after the election because he was convinced that Trump was going to create a nuclear war in a fit of anger. Trump's demonstrated policies are, he doesn't have any beliefs, right? He doesn't have any ethics or morals. We know that. He's on his third, he's in his second adulterous marriage after he dumped the last 2 wives and brags about it and says publicly he doesn't need to repent. He's Republican fact checkers have caught him in a lie about every 5.5 minutes, which makes him almost as bad as Obama. So I'm not here saying he's moral or good, but he is not fucking Hitler, right? Hitler's policies, gun registration, Democrat policy, gun confiscation, Democrat policy, nationalized industries, national health care, Democrat policy. National family planning, nationally funded family planning. He didn't call it Planned Parenthood, planned policy. Abortion on demand, Nazi that was National Socialist Workers' Party policy, Democrat policy. You're feeling me how much I believe that you care whether or not somebody's Hitler. You've got Lena Dunham out this last week calling for the extinction of white males, and I heard your protest about about how traumatized you were by, calling for the death of a gender and skin color. Or maybe you don't believe that either, you complete wasted hypocrites. All right. Trump's a braggadocio. We've found out in the last week, if you've read The Art of the Deal or even read a summary of The Art of the Deal, Trump has said what his policy is. He makes big, grandiose statements that his opening positions are way more than anything he actually wants, and he walks them back. And in the last week, he's walked back. He's walked back the ban on Obamacare. Now he doesn't want a total big repeal of it. He just wants to replace it with Trump Care, so his name can be on it. And then it'll be good because his name's on it, because he's an idiot. That makes him stupid and a liar, and anybody who supported him makes them a mark to a con man, but it doesn't make him Hitler, right? He has no plans to conquer, to unify all Anglo-speaking North America, right? He doesn't have any plans to annex Canada. That would be what Hitler would be doing. Unifying large globalist, that's Democrat policy as well, continuing to give national sovereignty and open borders and unite everything under the United Nations, which is a leftist organization, but you care about the consolidation of power and nationalism, right? You were protesting when the government took over 1/6 of the economy through the Obamacare grab because you cared. When Obama was, can you care about dictatorship, right? So let's get into the dictatorship you've shown me that you care so much about. In his first term, when President Obama asked children and young people to report to the government the names and comments of people who criticized him, which is something that Stalinist fucking Russia did. You cared. I saw you care. I heard the protest on the left. Oh wait, no, because it was your dictator. You hypocrite. When Obama expanded I opposed George W. Bush's Patriot Act because it violated 2 or 3 amendments on privacy and due process, right? I was not a fan of Bush on that. When Obama expanded it beyond anything Bush did, you cared. Oh wait, you didn't, because you don't actually have principles. You just believe in your own power. And when it was your dictator, you were completely all right with it. So hey, that's fine, right? I mean, because it was your guy, it was your dictator, and that made it okay. But now you care whether or not Trump's Hitler. You complete total liar. When Obama started executing American citizens without due process, right? Without the Democrats, you guys, you demanded a right to trial, the presumption of innocence, the presentation of the presentation of evidence, the right to face your accusers. You want all these things for members of Al-Qaeda, but when your president was drone killing American citizens without trial, without notice, without due process, you were completely okay with it. But tell me now how much you care whether or not the Orange God King is going to be freaking Hitler. Because when your tyrant was acting like Hitler, you shut up. When in his 2008 general run, I believe it was the second debate, it could be the first debate, I remember because I sat up, it was early October, I want to say 2008, Obama sat up and called for a domestic military arm, better armed and better equipped than our army, which, hey, you're concerned about dictators, right? But you were okay with that. Let me clue you in on something, you complete ignoramus. Armies exist for the purpose of killing and incapacitating and restraining the enemy. You only need to the reason you only find national army, internal armies in communist and totalitarian dictatorships is because only those kind of governments view their own people as the enemy who need to be suppressed or killed. Right? But Obama called for that in the generals, and you Democrats were completely silent. But now you care whether the Orange God King, who's pretty much incompetent, is going to be Hitler? Shut up, you liars! All right? Now, taking over national health care, something that comes along with national health care when the government decides who gets health care? The government inevitably then, by sheer economic inevitability, has what is called death panels, which means the government is going to decide who lives and dies. But you care about totalitarianism, right? I mean, we've had death panels were revealed, and Britain has revealed that they have death panels. Canada has revealed that they have death panels. I'm not so sure about Australia. I'd have to give it. I absolutely freaking know that Denmark and that Denmark, Sweden, and Norway have them, right? But hey, you care whether or not, you care whether or not there's a massive government power, or whether or not Trump is going to be Hitler. It doesn't matter that you were completely okay with the government deciding who has the right to breathe because they can decide who does and does not have Medicare. But now you care that he's going to be Hitler. So congratulations. I really believe you. Oh, you care about totalitarian dictatorship, and you care about war. But it turns out that if the Democrats hadn't rigged the elections, you guys would have voted for Bernie Sanders, who's an avowed socialist. Yes, socialist, not just like the National Socialist Worker Party that we were talking about, that resulted in 11 million executions and something like 40 million people dead through their expansionist wars. But then we could have the the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, with the USSR, also known as Communist Russia, where Stalin alone purged something like 35 million people. Their government's the KGB building actually has to have a slanted slope in the basement just to deal with all the blood of the perpetual executions that took place over 70 years. But hey, you care about tyranny, you total posers. Or socialists like Pol Pot, who executed a quarter of his own population. Or socialists like communist China, where communist China, where they in a 5-year plan, just was it the Bold Step Forward is what it was called, something like 50 to 100 million of its own people were just done away with because they were irrelevant and they didn't fit them in. But you care whether or not the orange one of total randomness is going to be Hitler. You liar. All right. So we've demonstrated in the last 8 years, I have all the proof I need. You don't care about civil rights because you were okay with killing people without them. You don't care about race because you're okay with spokesmen of your own party calling for the extermination of white males, which is a race and a gender. So you don't care about sexism either because you were completely okay with sexism last freaking week. And we're talking about sexism to the death. We're talking about genocide. And hey, ha ha ha, funny. She gets naked on TV, so it's okay if she says that, and you were okay with that. You don't care if the police state's collecting the name of agitators like some kind of fictional dictatorship when it was your guy who did it. Maybe his skin color was right enough for you. I don't care about skin color. You could be purple polka dotted. If you pull that bullshit, you deserve to be opposed. But your vastly concerned, sensitive morals didn't show up that day. But you can tell me now how much you freaking care. You worried about Trump being Hitler? Now let me tell you something. Trump got like 43% of the vote inside his own party. And which means most of his own party doesn't agree with him or thinks that there's better, And the other thing, this difference between Democrats and Republicans is until this election, we hold our principles whether or not it's our people in power, right? You guys have a senator who runs a prostitution ring out of his basement, and you re-elect him 3 more times. We have a guy sending inappropriate texts to pages who are like 16 and up, and we kicked him out that week. So we can go down the list, right? Oh geez, what's the guy's name from the it's not Mitch McConnell. Newt Gingrich, yes, thank you. Newt Gingrich in the Republican Revolution in the mid-90s. We kicked him, we allowed him to get kicked out because he ran photocopies using government property. He ran photocopies for his college class, and that was enough corruption for us to kick him out. You want to start talking about Clinton's emails and we can pretend that you have ethics or standards? You don't, right? This is a convenient outrage so that you can pretend to be all moral on your self-appointed righteous high ground. You don't care about corruption. You don't care about the accumulation of power. You don't care whether the government can decide who can live or die, as long as they're a race or a gender that you feel that you can protect. Because if they're not the right race or gender for your politics, you have stayed silent while somebody called for their extermination, right? Just in the last 2 weeks. This isn't 50 years ago. This isn't 60 years ago. This isn't your Democrat President Woodrow Wilson, playing KKK propaganda movies. It isn't the founder of the Democrat Party running Indian genocide. It isn't the Democrat president who replaced Ulysses S. Grant, starting and running the extermination of the Indians across the Civil War. It isn't Democrat president running the internment camps in World War II. It isn't Democrat President Wilson imprisoning more than 22,000 people because they politically opposed him, and the war gave him a great excuse to silence his public opposition. Right? It isn't. It isn't. We don't know what he's going to do. All right. Trump is random. Trump is inconsistent. You want to understand Trump? It's really simple because he has the brains and the ethics of a high school of a grade school bully. right? If you're nice to him to his face, he doesn't care what you believe, he'll be good to you. If you're mean to him or criticize him, he doesn't care whether you're a good person, he'll attack you. He runs off of the impulses of a kid who hit puberty last week, right? If it has sex, he'll go for it. If it's immediately to his pleasure, he'll do it. If it's immediately to displeasure, he won't do it. Somebody like that does not have the standards or the courage to press a button and blow up a bomb, because it's been 70 years since the last time we did it. And we're still criticizing and arguing this guy. And Trump lives to have people kiss his ass and tell him how great he is. And so he's not going to do something so controversial. He has not stuck to his controversial points. He hasn't stuck to his controversial points for 5 days for his own electorate before he was even given any political opposition. And you think he's going to do something that most of people in his own party are going to object to? It's cute, and I guess it makes us a good sounding block to people who already believe in everything you already believe in. It's not going to convince anybody else, and it's not going to convince me that you're using rational, logical, critical thought. So shut up with this Trump is Hitler bullshit. If he's Hitler, I will, if he proves out to be a dictator, I'll be fighting right beside you against him. If he's not, I am going to be laughing, because so far, what Trump has done is he's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have not met a single Democrat who has an ethic to rub together with another ethic when it conflicts with loyalty to his party or his immediate political convenience.